Hey there, you're watching Eskimos, and today we're journeying back to 2020, reminiscing on a year like no other in recent history, and exploring the 10 biggest trends that reshaped our world. From the rise of face masks and the Karen phenomenon, to the surge in activism and the explosion of TikTok, we'll unpack how these trends reflected deeper societal shifts. So buckle up, grab your favorite beverage, and let's dive right in. Remember those early days of 2020 when the biggest question on our minds was to mask or not to mask? It seems almost quaint now, doesn't it? But back then, the idea of face masks becoming a part of our daily lives seemed almost unimaginable. And yet, as the world grappled with the growing pandemic, masks quickly became a symbol of both safety and division. We saw global shortages, DIY mask-making tutorials flooding the internet, and even clothing factories pivoting to meet the unprecedented demand. It was a crash course in public health, personal responsibility, and the unexpected ways that a global crisis can reshape even the most mundane aspects of our lives. Remember those awkward moments of trying to unlock your phone with Face ID while wearing a mask? Yeah, good times. 2020 also saw the rise of the Karen phenomenon, a term used to describe, shall we say, a particular type of individual who leverages their privilege to often absurd and infuriating degrees. From demanding to speak to the manager, to weaponizing their outrage over minor inconveniences, the Karen became a cultural meme, sparking countless viral videos and online debates. But beyond the humor, the Karen phenomenon highlighted deeper societal issues related to privilege, entitlement, and the abuse of power. It forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about systemic inequalities and the ways in which certain behaviors are tolerated from some while condemned in others. And for those unfortunate souls named Karen who had nothing to do with the meme, well, let's just say 2020 was probably a year they'd rather forget. As if a global pandemic and a reckoning with social injustice weren't enough, 2020 also saw a surge in what we might call green pressure. Consumers, especially younger generations, became increasingly vocal in demanding that companies prioritize environmental responsibility and sustainability. This wasn't just about swapping plastic straws for paper ones, although that was definitely part of it. We saw a growing awareness of the environmental impact of our consumption habits, from the food we eat to the clothes we wear to the technology we use. Plant-based meat alternatives went mainstream, fast fashion came under fire, and companies scrambled to tout their eco-friendly credentials. Whether this green pressure will translate into lasting change remains to be seen, but it's clear that consumers are no longer willing to turn a blind eye to the environmental consequences of their choices. Chapter 4: Cancel Culture Takes Center Stage. Cancel culture, the phrase that launched 1,000 think pieces. 2020 saw the debate over cancel culture reach a fever pitch, with proponents arguing that it's a powerful tool for holding individuals and institutions accountable for harmful behavior, while critics decried it as a form of online mob justice that stifles free speech. From celebrities facing backlash for past transgressions to brands being boycotted for unethical practices, cancel culture became a force to be reckoned with. It highlighted the speed and reach of online activism, the shifting power dynamics between public figures and their audiences, and the ongoing struggle to define the limits of acceptable behavior in the digital age. Love it or hate it, cancel culture is a reflection of our evolving understanding of accountability and the complex relationship between online and offline worlds. Chapter 5: Activism Finds Its Footing. Speaking of activism, 2020 was a year when people around the world took to the streets and to social media to demand change. From the Black Lives Matter protests that erupted in response to the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and countless other Black individuals at the hands of police, to the global climate strikes inspired by Greta Thunberg, activism took on a new urgency and visibility. We saw a resurgence of grassroots organizing, a willingness to challenge systems of power, and a recognition of the interconnectedness of social justice issues. The fight for equality and justice is far from over, but 2020 reminded us of the power of collective action and the importance of raising our voices for what we believe in. Chapter 6: The Rise of Home Baking and Puzzle Solving. Amidst all the turmoil and uncertainty of 2020, many of us sought solace in simpler pursuits. Home baking experienced a renaissance, with sourdough bread becoming the unofficial mascot of quarantine life. Puzzle sales skyrocketed as people sought ways to occupy their minds and find a sense of accomplishment during long days at home. These seemingly mundane activities took on a new significance, offering a sense of control, a connection to tradition, and a welcome distraction from the chaos of the outside world. There's something inherently comforting about the act of creating something tangible with your own hands, whether it's a perfectly risen loaf of bread or a completed 1,000-piece puzzle. Remember when being vegan was considered a fringe lifestyle choice? Well, 2020 saw plant-based diets move firmly into the mainstream. Driven by a growing awareness of the health and environmental benefits of reducing meat consumption, more and more people embraced plant-based alternatives. Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods became household names, supermarkets expanded their vegan offerings, and even fast food chains jumped on the plant-based bandwagon. This shift towards plant-based eating reflects a broader cultural shift towards more sustainable and ethical consumption habits. It's no longer just about personal health. It's about the health of the planet and all its inhabitants. Chapter 8: Global Burnout, a Pandemic Within a Pandemic. As the months of the pandemic dragged on, with many of us working remotely and navigating the blurring boundaries between our professional and personal lives, it's no surprise that global burnout became a very real and pervasive issue. The lines between work and home became increasingly blurred, Zoom fatigue set in, and the constant state of uncertainty took a toll on our mental health and well-being. We saw a surge in demand for mental health services, a renewed focus on self-care, and a growing recognition of the importance of setting boundaries and prioritizing our well-being. The pandemic may have exposed the cracks in our work-life balance, but it also forced us to confront the importance of mental health and the need for more sustainable and compassionate work cultures. Chapter 9: TikTok Takes Over the World, One Dance Challenge at a Time. Remember when TikTok was just that app where teenagers danced to catchy tunes? Well, 2020 saw TikTok evolve from a niche platform to a global phenomenon, captivating audiences of all ages and backgrounds. From dance challenges and comedy skits to educational content and social justice activism, TikTok became a space for creativity, connection, and cultural exchange. The app's algorithm, known for its uncanny ability to serve up content tailored to our interests, kept us endlessly scrolling, while its short-form video format made it perfect for consuming content in bite-sized chunks. Love it or hate it, there's no denying that TikTok has become a cultural force to be reckoned with. Chapter 10: Zoom, From Boardroom to Bedroom. And finally, no recap of 2020 would be complete without mentioning Zoom, the video conferencing platform that went from relative obscurity to ubiquitous presence in our lives. Zoom became the virtual town square where we conducted business meetings, attended school classes, caught up with friends and family, and even celebrated major life events. It was a lifeline for many during a time of social distancing and isolation, allowing us to maintain some semblance of normalcy and connection. While Zoom fatigue is real, and many of us are eager to return to in-person interactions, there's no denying that the platform revolutionized the way we communicate and connect in the digital age. Outro 2020, a year for the history books. Each of these trends marked significant societal shifts that rippled into 2021 and beyond. They serve as touchstones to remind us of the dynamism, resilience, and continual evolution of global culture. From the way we protect ourselves from a pandemic to the ways we connect with each other, 2020 forced us to adapt, innovate, and re-examine our values. Thanks for watching. If you want more insightful videos like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button right below this video. See you next time.